What's going on, guys? Dallas Talks Tua coming with another video. We're going to be talking about Christian Parker, who's the now defensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys, and giving our initial thoughts, kind of where he's been and what to expect when it comes to schemes. So starting off with what I initially thought when I heard the news that he is our new defensive coordinator, I was honestly quite excited. He is not the typical Cowboys hire, as he's very young. He's only 34 years of age. He's incredibly young when it comes to coaching. And he's had success in 2 elite defenses. I feel like the Cowboys usually never pick like the obvious name, I guess just the obvious good pick. Like in this situation, it might be like Brian Flores, but it's not really available at the moment because he's going for head coaching gigs. But I would say this was like one of the second best hires you could do. But he's defensive back focused, and he's been a part of some young defensive backs development into elite talents. Cooper DeJean, Mitchell, both with the Eagles. He's been around Patrick Surtain, and overall, just a lot of young DBs that I think he could have a big impact on with the Cowboys. Our DB room is rather young, but they're not high. It's not a lot of a value in those draft picks. We got Revel, Stewart, Kalen Carson, Bridges, Thomas, and I think Revel and Carson are the highest out of those. Bridges, Stewart, and Thomas are all late picks when they drafted. Revel and Carson are still pretty late picks. I think both are third-round picks. Decent shot at 1 to 2 of them are cut or let go. Depends on the draft. Mostly our first-round picks, and day 2 to 3 picks. But a lot of stuff to work with there, in my opinion. Revel has definitely got the physical build to succeed in this league. We didn't see many flashes, but there were occasional flashes. Stewart, for his draft pick, was actually quite good. He wasn't supposed to play. I don't think on any other rosters he really played, but he had moments where he was actually quite good, mostly in the run, which is unfortunate for a DB, but still valuable. Kalen Carson even had some moments where he was pretty good. I would say he fits Eberflus a bit better, but we'll see. Bridges and Thomas both, and by Thomas I mean Wanye Thomas, both of those guys were honestly pretty bad. Bridges had an interception, but again, both of them weren't really expected to do a whole lot of anything. And Bridges, I would say, definitely outplayed what I would expect. Thomas, he was out with the migraines for most of the year, so it was kind of hard. I personally thought Thomas wasn't that bad. I heard a lot of different people saying he was. I didn't think he was that bad. I felt like he was usually in the place he was supposed to. Then getting into more negative, I guess, of Parker's hiring is there's some risk. There's some real risk with this hiring. He's a first-time defensive coordinator, and he's got a pretty fast uprising. So it kind of begs you to ask that question of, could this be a product of being a good environment? And is that really bad, or is it good? Because you can make the argument that he was carried by defensive coordinators, talent, Denver, and Philadelphia. The DC, and he can add his own flair, and he's probably going to be a pretty damn good defensive coordinator. Maybe it's more like where he's been, so that you can make that argument. So with Philadelphia, he was there for, I believe it was 2 years or just a year. No, it's just a year. So getting into Philadelphia, he was only there for a year, but he helped the defense get to 13th overall with 5th in points allowed, 5th yards allowed, 8th in touchdowns, and 1st in passing TDs allowed. They're an elite defense from head to toe. Overall, carrying the team. I mean, anyone that watched an Eagles game, you were honestly surprised they weren't bottom of the NFC East because that offense was atrocious. It was terrible. They played like a worse offense than They were probably the worst offense I watched all year. But that defense was phenomenal. And they kept them in games. And Jalen Hurts, as much as he gets some negative hate, he doesn't turn it over. And when your offense only puts up 10, but your defense gives up 7, you can consistently do that. You're going to win games. And they were winning games. Getting into the Broncos, where he was there for really 2 to 3 years. They're 29th overall for 1 year and 22nd in the passing game, then 14th overall and 12th in the passing game. That 29th overall is a bit, I guess, misleading because they did turn around and become one of the better units in the second half of the season, but they just came off to a historically terrible start, which is a bit worrying, but not. There's more good than bad. So nothing really to be worried about in my opinion. Then in Green Bay, he was defensive quality control. At Texas A&M, he's an analyst. And Notre Dame, he's an analyst. What I've been seeing a lot is he's been in a college area where you kind of have to teach, which makes sense because you get to the pro level and most guys have been there 6-7 years. You're usually not teaching them anything new. College, you do. These guys are 18, 19-year-old guys who have been throwing money, girls, fame, whatever, and now you have to sit down and tell them, hey, you're actually not the guy anymore. And that takes some being a good teacher. A lot of times you're just dealing with egos rather than like actually teaching them how to play football. You're just kind of letting them know like, hey man, you're gonna have to humble yourself if you want to get better. And I think that's a valuable trait, and I think that would help just because, again, I think you do have a bit of that in the pros, especially with the younger guys. And I think a lot of times it helps kind of have a veteran presence, I guess. It has shades of that to where someone will calm them down, be like, hey, this is what you need to do. Now getting into who he's under, so we got Vic Fangio, Vance Joseph, and Ijo Evero, all very good coordinators. Vic Fangio, 2018 Bears were first in scoring and turnovers. 2012 49ers, 2024 Eagles. Eagles were best in total defense. 49ers were second in scoring. Consistently, he led some very strong defenses. Vance Joseph, 2025 Broncos, second in total defense. They're going to the Super Bowl, or no, they're not going to the Super Bowl, but they were playing for a Super Bowl title, and defense kept them in the game. Jared Stidham was terrible. They were phenomenal this year. 2024 Broncos, third in points allowed. 2023, historically bad start and finished very strong. That was that season with Parker that I kind of talked about. And then 2019 to 2022, the Cardinals ranked 11 at its peak, and he's led some very strong defenses, especially as of recent. And that's kind of where Parker and him were meshing, was as of recent with those 2023, 2024 years. Ijo Evero, 2024 Panthers were 16 in defense. And I don't know if you guys watched the Panthers, but apparently their defense has been pretty damn good. 2024, they're 16th in defense. 2023, they're 4th in total defense. This year, I think everyone knew that, kind of similar to the Eagles, where it was like, the offense doesn't have to do too much. Just don't hurt yourself and you'll be fine. And then 2022 Broncos, they're 7th in total defense. He's consistently been under successful defensive coordinators and defensive-minded coaches. And I think that's a very bright thing about that hire. Now, with what to expect, we don't necessarily know, I guess, until we get to the season, but we can make some assumptions. So Fangio likes two high shells, hiding coverages, and simulated pressures. Joseph blends man and zone blitzes, high shell again, creative blitzes, and five-man front. Ijiro is similar to Fangio, mixing an unpredictable blitz and coverages. And a lot of things that we sucked at, DB focus, blitzing, mixing coverages, communications. He hits just a lot of things that we want. I kind of love my odds that he pans out, but overall we kind of have to see. Regardless, it is going to be a breath of fresh air. I am not expecting him to make this a top defensive unit, but what I would like to see is a bit more blitzing and not those shitty nickel corner screaming off the edge that everyone knows is coming. I want some blitzes. I want some blends of coverages. Make them think at the line of scrimmage. Just have them guessing a little bit. Even if it doesn't work, I would like to see it attempted. And also, I kind of want to see the five-man front and see how it goes. Overall, I am incredibly pleased with this defensive coordinator search in the process. They did a lot more than they've done in the past, especially last year. And I think the production or the results out of the process will be a lot better than we expect. But I'm sure people have disagreements. Let me know in the comments, guys. Thanks for listening, guys. See you in the next one.